All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Hope everybody is doing well today on this Tuesday, first day after the inauguration of the new president in the United States. As always, let's turn off all distractions, grab pen and paper, let's take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. We want to make sure that we start our day off by taking massive action. That action stands for accepting all possible loss before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome, setting yourself, body, mind, and spirit, ensuring a balanced approach to trading, trust in your education, strategy, trade skills, and intuition. Imagine your trade successfully materializing, obeying your trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear, and never looking back or stopping once your trade has commenced. All right. So, we are going to get down to business. Take a look at the market and how it responded after the inauguration and after all of the remarks, the back and forth, and the pomp and circumstance. We'll see where things lie. All right. If everybody can hear me okay, drop me one in the chat and we will get rocking. All right. I appreciate it. Cool beans. All right. So, trading economics. We're going to start from the top. Main articles, right? There are a lot of pomp and circumstance. Just stay with the inauguration, but there wasn't a ton of movement in the charts yet, right? So primary article on trading economics is regarding the UK. Pay growth accelerates, right? Regular pay in the UK increased by 5.6% year on the year in the 3 months to November, the most in 6 months compared to a 5.2% increase in the previous period, which was the lowest since June 2022. But in line with the forecast, wage growth accelerated at the private sector. Meanwhile, unemployment rate edged up to 4.4% from 4.3%, and payrolls plunged the most since 2020. All right, so you got people making more money overall. Okay, then you have Mexican peso. We haven't talked about a lot recently, but you got the Mexican peso weakened past $20.70 per dollar, crossing over a 3-year low of 20.85. Tested repeatedly since the start of the year. After Donald Trump signaled that the U.S. will impose tariffs on Mexico. While answering press questions over the signing of executive orders, the freshly inaugurated president verbally signaled his administration is planning to impose tariffs up to 25% on Mexico as of February 1st, citing the measure as a reprimand for those for loose border control between both countries. Such policy would significantly impact the inflows of foreign exchange into Mexico from biggest trade partner. The move also pressures the peso by removing the large source of demand from Mexico manufacturing, particularly in the auto sector, right? So we went through COVID, right? And you had tons of issues with automotive production, issues getting parts from different parts of the world, and these types of things, and prices increased. Noted. Now we're coming into a situation where you're going to get tariffs in these other parts of the country where it may not be difficult to get the parts, but it's going to be more expensive to get the parts. So watch for the cost of automobiles to rise further, right? Um, Potentially forcing the Bank of Mexico to expedite rate cuts, slowing investment, industrial output, and inflation in Mexico have already raised expectations of multiple rate cuts by Mexico this year. All right. So keep that in mind with the Mexican peso. Why should take a look at that chart today. Uh, European natural gas. Natural gas prices in Europe rose to 48 euros per megawatt hour as traders evaluate Trump's early actions in the White House and the seasonal increase in demand due to winter cold. Among the president's initial measures was lifting a moratorium on new U.S. licenses for LNG exports, paving the way for additional export permits. This move is expected to drive higher demand for U.S. Natural gas from Europe and Asia. Trump also reiterated his call for the EU to purchase more American oil and gas to avoid potential tariffs. Meanwhile, Russian natural gas flows to Europe via Ukraine ceased at the start of the new year after both governments failed to reach an agreement. The IEA noted while the halt in Russian pipeline gas does not pose an immediate risk to the EU supply security, it may increase European natural gas import needs, further tightening global market fundamentals by 2025. This year, European natural gas imports are projected to rise by over 15%. Currently, EU gas storage levels stand around 60% capacity. All of that said, we'll look for the cost of natural gas to increase. All right. So that is that. We'll go over to Bloomberg real quick. Talk about the Bank of Japan. Investors say it's almost a certainty that I'm sorry, not Bloomberg, but Japan Today. Investors say it's almost a certainty that the Bank of Japan raises interest rates. Their comments last week were to signal to the market that it was coming so that they could price those things in. So we'll see what actually happens and we'll see what the conversation is. I am going to change my tone slightly after reading this article, which you got there in the chat. Based on this article and some of the other comments, they may raise the rate. In their comments last week were to get the market to price those things in, or to price that rate increase in. However, their conversation afterwards in the press conference will determine kind of where the market goes. They're looking for signals. The market is looking for signals for further rate increases. And that is where things could get sticky. If the Bank of Japan continues to hold their dovish narrative, then we could see the market continue to rise as we've expected it to. If they come in with a hawkish narrative, multiple rate increases this year, that type of conversation, then we could see the yen continue to gain strength. So check this article out. Interesting read. But 80% best that they do increase rates. But like I said, they wanted to give the market clear signals so that they didn't shock the market like they did the last time. last year. So they wanted the market to price that in so there isn't a drastic change in the market sentiment overall. Um, so we'll see how things go on Thursday when the Bank of Japan wraps up their 2-day meetings. But that's where the Bank of Japan potentially stands, and we'll watch and see how things go there. All right. Over to the calendar. Today we have CPI for the Canadian dollar coming in at 8:30. CPI for the New Zealand dollar this afternoon at 4:45. Wednesday, not a ton. You have Christine Lagarde coming to the microphone at 10:15 tomorrow morning, and trade balance for Japan tomorrow night. Thursday is where things pick up a bit. You got core retail sales from Canada and unemployment claims. Then you got the rate statement for the Bank of Japan, along with your natural gas storage and your crude oil inventories, right? So we're looking here on Thursday to see what that conversation is and what things look like. And then on Friday, things pick up quite a bit, and you got PMI data coming from around the world, from Europe, from the UK, and from the United States, with Christine Lagarde speaking in between. So busy day on Friday. All right. So that is where we stand from a fundamental perspective. When it comes to the inauguration, you had a lot of executive orders signed. We'll see how those impact things, particularly the stock market once it opens, and how the stock market responds to the conversations from yesterday. All right. Um, Questions from a fundamental perspective? No, no. Val, you got a question? I think that's Justina. No. All right. Cool deal. We'll keep it moving. Over to the charts. DXY. We have, all right. Let's go back to the daily. Boom. And we'll take the smaller wave out. Boom. There we go. All right. So we came back down just shy of that 107 level that we've been watching to see how the market responds at. And you see we're pushing back to the upside. Okay. Pushing back to the upside here. So we'll see where things go from a dollar perspective. That's stochastic, pushing down into that buy zone. Could potentially see some consolidation as that stochastic gets deeper into that zone there. Maybe even another push down. But coming down to the 4, this is where things are on the 4-hour, right? You see just shy of that level. Now we're pushing back to the upside. We'll see what happens here if we get head and shoulders type action here. Or if the dollar just runs back to the upside. Okay. So we'll watch that from that perspective. There, run the fib to the upside. We'll take this out so we can check that fib. And that's where we sit there. Uh, that's where we sit there. 8-6 retracement, matching extension is in the zone that we've been watching. Okay. Um, so we'll continue to watch those levels. 110.403, right? If we break that high and come there, and we'll see what happens once the dollar gets there and we don't have that head and shoulders pattern. All right. So that's where the dollar sits. We'll see how things continue to move. Right. We got a swing low on the 4. We'll see if we get the swing low on the daily time frame. And then we'll see how high the dollar runs. Right. So we'll watch things that way. Okay. Benny, good morning, bro.
Ryan, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Oh man, doing pretty good, man. We brought home a national title last night. I'm
I
good.
saw that, man. I saw that,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. So, yep,
Played a heck of a game.
it was a good game, strong game. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch. Yep,
Good deal, man.
yeah,
Good
man.
deal.
How you doing?
I am doing well, dude. Um, just gathering information this morning.
Oh man, that's good.
Just
Yep,
gathering information.
yeah.
What's on your
So,
mind fundamentally, bro?
oh man, watching, just watching the moves, right? From the new president elect, right? Out of the world, health organization pulled out. Already. Uh, you know, um, he ordered the United States already to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement. So that's gonna have impacts. Regarding energy. I'm interested in seeing what happens with that. Because he already repealed a lot of the Biden administration's climate goals. So achieving net zero
Oh,
emissions
really?
by 2050 is gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, he been moving. Gone. So we'll see what happens, with the energy sector, all types of stuff. He's thinking about as far as the tariff game. So these are things to just watch out for, right? He's thinking about imposing 25%, tariffs on Mexico and Canada. And
Yeah, we touched on that.
yeah, yeah, what does he say? February for one of them to come into
February
effect?
February 1st for Mexico.
Yeah, yeah. Um I was reading that the Asian markets, you know, turned in a positive direction after his inauguration. So, those emerging markets, things like that, we'll continue to keep an eye on that, especially with some of those uh those ETFs, you know. But the market really has his eye on a lot of those what's gonna happen with that terror situation. And then also keep an eye on if he's gonna hold his word on all these deportations. I'm interested to see exactly how that's gonna happen, being that at least the data is showing that we don't have the capacity, for the detention centers to do it in the numbers that he's saying. So I'm interested to see now how much was, smoke and bluster, and how much is actually gonna get done. The getting out of the World Health Organization, like to me, that's just stupid and symbolic. Like, you know what I mean? And then the Paris Climate, the accords and things like that. We're gonna see. We're gonna see, but he's on the move already. So
Yeah.
definitely something to keep up with, because he seems to be moving pretty fast with a lot of stuff.
And Joe also mentioned that he ended remote work for federal workers, getting people back in their cars. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So that I mean, but Project 2025, which he miraculously came around to, right? After after denying it for the whole campaign, it's a lot of them that's supposed to lose their jobs and get replaced with Trump loyalists. So
So what's interesting is um Tasha mentioned it to me, one of the groups that she's in has a decent number of workers in it. And that's also what they've been saying internally inside
yeah,
of some of those government organizations is like that's the known plan.
yeah,
And he's expecting a lot of them to step away from their jobs. Um so that he can replace them with his people.
Yeah, yeah. There was some like I read that some of them, like some of the departments were kind of like trying to rewrite job classifications or something to try to kind of get away, to try to get around it. But yeah, man, we'll see we'll see what's gonna happen. But there's some things that are just symbolic and just dumb and just like just crazy ego driven that their impact on the market. I don't know, but then there's some things that will impact the market.
Yeah,
So those are the things that So you have to sift through all the mess and stay focused on what matters is really the point. You know, and
yeah,
that's how we go about it in this group. The rest of it's going to be a bunch of talk, a bunch of yap, a bunch of gossip, but staying focused on what really matters over the next 4 years. In regards to and what's going to have the financial impact, what's going to create the volatility. So that's what I'm really trying to stay focused on because it's going to be messy. He's a chaos agent, and so that's just his nature of doing business. So you have to filter all of it out.
all
Uh,
the extra stuff. Yeah, one of
yep.
the things I am interested to track though with the um stepping away from the World Health Organization, as we have some things popping up when it comes to illness. What does that look like from a another potential um, pandemic type scenario?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know. I mean, we got
You
new
got the
strains of
bird
stuff
flu
popping
and,
up.
and some of these
Yeah.
other things popping up.
Yep. That's true. And then even with like the terror thing could take I don't know, like I said, a lot of things he does a lot of job on it, to try to force people to do stuff without him having to actually do things. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like you have to actually just filter through all of his mess because a lot of times that's what he does. Like his when they cornered him yesterday on the well not what was it yesterday before not yesterday but when they cornered him on the TikTok situation, all of a sudden he has a change in the way he thinks about TikTok. And when the question came, well, about the kids, he shrugged that off. Like all of a sudden, like, the kids aren't an issue, which us in America should know that because we worry about TikToks, but we can't protect kids from guns and crazy video games and crazy stuff on TV. You know what I mean? So it's just like
Oh wow.
we know that really wasn't a concern. That's just how they played to the emotions of the American public. Like he shrugged it off. All of a sudden he shrugged it off. They asked him what happened. He was just like, "Oh, I actually used it." And they asked about the kids. Oh, he literally shrugged that question off. Like the kids, that's kind of what it was. And then he was just like, if if half of our Americans use it and they make money, like, well, he said if a lot of pretty much the money they make comes from you know Americans using it, why shouldn't we have half of it? That's literally what he said. Like, you
What?
know, yeah, it's on tape. Like,
Wow.
why shouldn't we have half of it? So it's always been about business. But those of us that know, no, it's always been about business with that TikTok situation. I mean, you had the guy sitting up there at the inauguration. So it's the grand fleecing of America. That's what it is. And
Right.
so what we need to do is say, okay, since this is what it is, where's the volatility going to be created? How can we make money from it? The terror situation. Of course, those costs will get passed on to us. What they're trying to do is, and it's a long term lagging effect, like because companies don't move in lightning at a lightning pace, especially at large companies. Like, can those tariffs force companies to move to look for a local supplier as opposed to you know going beyond our borders, trying to force them into that situation? But He's trying to fix the situation with outsourcing that we created in the first place because of greed.
Right.
Because of greed. So it's gonna be interesting, and again, it's gonna be important for us in this group to filter out all the mess and the bluster to really figure out, okay, why is it being said? Is it relevant, to what we need to be focused on, and then move on from there. Because it's like I'm sick of it already. Like some of the stuff is just goofy, like that's going on. So that's it, man. That's all I have. So the like I said, the terror situation, the deportation situation, seeing is it going to be a mass, or is it going to be like he said during the campaign, like just one day? What do you say? One day of violence or whatever. So is he gonna start kicking in doors today, over the next week, over the next month, to create the visual that all these deportations are happening? And then is he gonna back off, after that, because the media will follow right behind them and change the news cycle like they always do?
Right.
Like is it gonna be a show? Because it's like, I know you have these corporate people in your ears saying, we hire a lot of these workers for our business. There's no way you could deport this many people. So we'll see who he's going to be loyal to. Who he's going to be loyal to. His followers who want to see this happen, which isn't really going to change their lives like much at all. And that's what I think presidents really should be when they talk about policy. Like, how is it going to impact people's lives in a positive way? I don't put them all out of here. Like, it's not going to create more. It's not going to create more jobs for people because you don't do the jobs anyway. That's
Right.
why they're here to begin with. So, but for us from a corporate perspective, when they're running these 24-hour farms and they need these cows milk 24 hours a day, things like that, that can really have a negative impact on these corporations. So I think it's going to be a lot of show, in the beginning, and then I think it's going to taper out. That's just my take, but you never know.
Never know.
You never
Never
know.
know.
Yep.
I'm with it,
Then
man.
Yep.
you also have to consider I'm going to use there are some companies to where he's going to have to find a way to negotiate contract terms because a lot of those outsourcings are remote too.
Correct.
And a lot of these people just re-sign their contracts within these 5 and 7 year contracts within the last 2 years. So it's like they gonna
Yeah.
have to dummy down the education for onboarding, and then it's gonna just be a whole bunch of recovery for a lot of these customers, for a lot of these peoples and their members. And it's just he started the outsourcing in the beginning, and now to come back to play favor and play the hero is just crazy to me. Because
Well,
you took a lot of work from the American people, and now we got to fight to get this work back and then fix it because it got messed up by from the workers that got outsourced to work it.
right, right. So it's a whole bunch of looking for solutions to problems that he created in the first place. Or just that type of ideology in general created in the first place. That was going on for decades, right? So they already. I agree with you there on the immigration front, though. For people to know, they already shut down the app that asylum seekers, right, which is legal, right? You can seek asylum. They already shut down the app that the administration had put into place for asylum seekers to take the proper path. So if you shut that down already, right? You shut that down already. So people that were in the pipeline to seek asylum, right? And then eventually over the long term, which takes a long time, citizenship. If it was about doing it the right way from the beginning, if that's really what it was about, that they were saying, we don't mind them being here, right? But they have to do it the right way. If it really was about that, you wouldn't have shut down that app. So now you have thousands and thousands and thousands of asylum seekers that were in that process that woke up in the morning and it was completely shut down. They completely shut it down. So it's never been about it can't be about doing things legally and the right way because you shut down an app that provided them a pathway to do it the right way. Like these are facts. This is what's happened already. So, you know, we'll see. But that those type of things will definitely have an impact on companies because what we've always been sitting here in America saying, people that have common sense is if immigration really is a problem, illegal immigration, then you would go after the corporations that are hiring them because they wouldn't come here if there was no work, right? So it's gonna be a tug and pull. You see, they already booted Vivek Ramaswamy out of Doge already. He's not be part of the cabinet anymore, right? So it's gonna be chaos, right? He's a chaos agent. So we'll see. Like I say, we need to stay focused on those things that we know can definitely have an impact to the financial markets. But that's it. That's what we're here for. So immigration is one of them. Tariffs is one thing that we need to stay focused on. Um, like you say, out with the World Health Organization, we'll see. I have to do more digging and detailing, in regards to the further long term impacts of that, and we'll go from there.
Yes, sir. So, good people. Update from Smart Trader. You guys might have seen the notification pop up when you logged in, but they're having some issues with a third party provider when it comes to the stock charts. So that is why I sent a message to them last week, and that's why we're missing some of our stock charts. So um, we'll wait to see how the market opens, and then hopefully I can get that back up quickly so that we can work through those charts and see where we are from a stock ETF perspective. But oil, right? Ben was talking about some of those things that Donald Trump already initiated yesterday. Oil still making its way to the downside here, right? Started last week. It's 80-20 to the downside. We're heading into TP2, right? Looking to see, I'm looking to see if price gets back to 72.79, right? Don't know if we'll actually get that low. We got previous resistance here. This is on the 4-hour time frame that we're coming into right now. But how deep do we push? Do we settle in and then make this reversal higher? Right. So watching this 80-20 play out, I'm looking for low price to add to current positions that I have. That's my current position overall. I would come back to the daily and you see this move to the downside here, right? That $72 level is around that 618 retracement on the daily time frame, right? We got this beautiful cloud break to the upside, right? Now coming back to retest that cloud. We're still bullish ahead. We got support and resistance here from a cloud perspective, right? So I'm looking to see how deep this retracement goes and can we settle in here in the 618 range on the daily time frame and then get a reversal back to the upside, right? This level is a boundary on the 4, right? A boundary on the 4. Okay, so could potentially spike down, take that out. We'll see what happens there. But stochastic trying to come out of that buy zone, see if we get another push down, right? Get a little bit deeper there. So that's headed into TP2. And as some of these things kind of get flowing with Donald Trump when it comes to oil and the energy sector overall, we'll see if that causes a swing in some of these charts. But on the day, on the 1-hour time frame, there's your 80-20 as well, pushing to the downside, right? So similar story to the 4, waiting for the low price to get back long. Okay, so That one is there. Natural gas got some indecision happening, right? So on the daily time frame, we got to push down to that trend line there. Now looking to see what happens. Stochastic is still high in the zone. Okay. Still high in the zone on the daily time frame. Do we get another push to the downside at some point and then get that reversal? So watching to see what happens here as we continue to move forward from a natural gas perspective, right? We read the articles regarding European natural gas there. Excuse me. So watching to see what happens here. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if we get back down to this middle trend line here, especially where the stochastic sits, right? We got a swing high that formed there. Do we get another push to the downside coming into this middle trend line here before we get a reversal back long? Okay. Looking higher, these lines here, this is our weekly 382 here, and this is our weekly 618 here. So this is the range that I'm watching to see natural gas come into at least 492. But can we get to a high of 669 from a weekly time frame perspective coming off the AB boundary? So I'm looking for more upside coming, right? But do we continue to get these retracements in between, right? The market flows in ABCD waves, so looking for those to continue there. So that's on the daily time frame. Weekly 618 is the daily sweet spot too. Perfect. Perfect. Right in line, multiple time frames, right? So coming down to the 4, I'll run this fib off the low. Boom, right? So we already got to that 618 level. And the extension is in line with that weekly 382. Right? So we got alignment weekly, daily, 4 hour, right, for this upside projection, at least to that 492 level. Okay. So looking long, just looking to see if we get another push down before we continue up. All right. Maybe one more leg to the downside here. And then do we get that move? Okay. So just don't be surprised if we get another move down, right? You see here, B boundary, that 80-20 comes in line with on that subfib comes in line with that middle trend line there. Okay. So maybe one more push down, give us an 80-20 on the subfib, and then a flip back to the upside. Okay. So watching that develop there on the 4, coming down to the 1. Similar story here on the 1 hour, right? Choppy from the low, right? We got an 8-6 retracement, looking for top side 436 on the 1, right? But in all that choppiness, there's that 80-20 as well here. Okay. So do we get that leg down and then a reversal? Okay. That is natural gas.
After hearing it was snowing in Texas last night, I was hoping this chart was gonna have a long engulfing up.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of stuff, a lot in Texas, really across the South. Atlanta's supposed to get a lot of snow today. I got some people down there stocking up on groceries and such so they could prepare for everything to be shut down for the next couple of days. And in Texas. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens, right? As it actually hits, as things really start to creep in. Do we see that? And maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow and throughout the week, maybe we see a tick up in some of that stuff. And it might have a lagging effect in the next week. I dig it though. It'd be interesting to see. Any other thoughts or questions on natural gas?
Nope.
Nope. All right, cool deal. Pound NZD is another I'm continuing to watch, right? From daily time frame perspective, we're at a 50% level, just pressing sideways here, right? You see our cloud also moving sideways. We're retesting that cloud. Do we push down into this 118, 127 zone, give us a 618, 786 retracement here? right? That's what my original thought was. You see stochastic just moving sideways as well. Looking to see what happens here, right? Do we get one more push down into the zone and then get that reversal back to the upside? Okay. But ultimately looking at 225 as the target right now. So looking for more upside movement there on this pound NZD, especially with that stochastic in the buy zone there. Looking for a move top side over the medium term there and get to 225. Coming down to the 4, 80-20. Okay, if we get another leg down, potentially hit that D extension, right? But we'll watch and see, right? This level is holding strong here right now. You see like double bottom here on the 4-hour forming, but you see that stochastic creeping back to the upside there, right? So that could get back into the sell zone and give us another that other leg down first. So watching this develop here, but looking long, just waiting for a breakout of the consolidation, maybe after a push down, then get that reversal back to the upside, right? So we got a trend line running down here, trend line running to the downside. We'll wait, see if we get a nice break of the trend line and then also break that cloud and then shift back to the upside there on the 4. Okay, so that's the 4-hour coming down to the 1. You got an 80-20 on the 1-hour as well, right? So similar story to the 4. If we get that push down, we could hit those D extensions and reset, right? And then set up that sub fib 80-20 on the daily with a 618 retracement on the daily capital fib. All right. So looking for that action there and a move to the upside at some point on this pound New Zealand. Okay. Questions here?
Nope.
All right. Cool. Um, New Zealand dollar, you also got an 80-20, right? Price pushed down into that 118, 127 zone. Started to make its move to the upside. Looking to see what the dollar does. All right, do we get that rally in the dollar, continue to move to the upside, or is it a retest of this 57,718, right? Getting us back into the sweet spot here on the daily, and then another move to the downside with that head and shoulder type pattern on the DXY, right? So we'll watch and see how that moves, but this 80-20 is in motion on the daily, making its way to the upside. After this pullback, look for it at least to press that 57,718 level. All right, so that's on the daily. Coming down to your 4. Take this out for a second. Boom, there's your 80-20 on the 4. All right, push down into that 118, 127 zone. Didn't quite get back to that 55, 139 level that I wanted it to, right? But press into that zone and then give us a reversal. Nice cloud break. Now we're pulling back to retest, right? Bullish cloud ahead on the 4. So watch for this retest and then that continuation to the upside there. Okay. So that's your 80-20 on the 4. And then on your 1, don't know that we have this coming off the high. There you go. 80. That one already got to that 382 there before pushing to the 118, 127 zone, right? But we came right back below the cloud, and then you see the consolidation, the breakout, and the pullback, right? So if we move past that and just track the fibs to the upside as we get to that 382, you're moving back into your sweet spot here on the 1. Right? As you retest the cloud, moving back into the sweet spot here on your 1 could set you up for potential motion if we don't get that other push to the downside there, right? So coming back into the sweet spot here, see if price settles in, retest that cloud, and then see if we get that move along. Questions on the pound New Zealand? All right. All right, cool. Dollar yen. We talked about the Bank of Japan and how the market um potentially already priced in the rate hike that 80% of folks are saying it was 80% chance that it'll happen. We got price sitting at this is just the extra level that I dropped in there. And so is that. Right? So we're sitting in the zone here. Previous resistance there, right? Does this zone hold? We got stochastic in the buy zone. Does that zone hold, and do we turn over and press to the upside? Already pressed at 382 level there, right? So do we turn over and continue moving long with the dollar? Okay, we'll see what happens on Thursday um, with the statement from the Bank of Japan. But and we'll see if they actually implement it or not. But how does the dollar fare here? Okay. How does the dollar fare? So watching this one here in this zone to see if we're able to get this move back to the upside, or do we get another leg to the downside first, heading into that rate statement, getting down to that 618,786 level. And then after that rate statement, see price turnover and press to the upside. Okay, so that's on your four. I mean, on your daily coming down to the four, right? You're already sitting in your sweet spot here. Okay, so any further push down could potentially take that A out, but might sell in at the 78686 range. Okay, so watching this closely. Stochastic also in the buy zone here on the four, right? And you see price trying to hold this level strong. So we'll watch and see how this develops throughout the week to see if we get that catalyst to continue moving this to the upside as we anticipate. Even if they increase the rate, right? Benny mentioned this last week, right? That if they do raise it, it's probably already priced in, right? With these moves to the downside. Um, so likely that's already priced in, and then based on their narrative afterwards, right, we'll see this move back to the upside. So we'll watch and see how it develops. So, but that's the dollar yen. That's what I'm watching there from a 4 hour perspective. Questions on the dollar yen? Nope. Okay. We'll deal. Want to check out the pound Aussie. All right, been moving long. Okay, already hit that D extension. We got a reset happening. There's our low. There's our swing high. Right, we're moving to the downside here at that 382 level, trying to settle in there. Right, do we get a swing low to form here? Okay, we zoom in on this. This is our low candle here, right? So we need 2 candles to the right to give us that swing low. Do we get that with stochastic in the buy zone for this to turn over and make its way back to the upside? Okay, so watching that from the daily perspective there. As we come down to the 4, we got an 80-20 here on the 4. All right, stochastic pushing into that sell zone, so could potentially see some more consolidation as we move through this week. Get to Friday with a lot of PMI data. But 80-20 here on the 4, do we see this turnover, break of the cloud, and the start of that rise back to the upside? Okay. So there's your 80-20 on the 4 on the pound Aussie, looking for this move along. Okay. Then down on your 1, you also got an 80-20 here. All right. Boom. In the zone, got a strong bullish action, cloud break, cloud bullish ahead, even though we're consolidating right now. Right? I'm looking for this continuation to the upside on this pound Aussie. Okay, so look for that. If you want to add some additional confirmation, you can run your trend line to the downside. Boom. All right, to the outermost point of that consolidation. Wait for a nice trend line break on that consolidation there, and that move to the upside. That's the pound Aussie, 80-20 on the 4 and on the 1. Questions here? Nope.
No, sir.
All right. Cool beans. Pound CAD. I'm interested to see what happens on this one. Benny, what are your thoughts on the pound overall, bro? Fundamentally.
Fundamentally, looking at that data last week, it looks more favorable to the downside, bearish with a lot of the pound pairs.
Yeah.
But we know that. So domestically, right, bearish, but overall, like if you look at it from how sometimes that pound can could benefit from positive gains in the financial market, that can
Counteract
kind
some
of
of it.
act as a counterbalance to where it's not, as bearish, but overall short right now.
That's my overall thought too. Um, which is why this one is kind of interesting to me from a monthly perspective. Got this potential here, right? And do we
Yeah,
get this right shoulder to form here for a head and shoulders pattern? The Canadian dollar is also right in an interesting place. As it hasn't been strong for the most part, right?
no,
But do we get this action to form here? So I'm curious on how this plays out. And actually looking at this would be more of a crown pattern than a head and shoulders. Um, but that took out the A there with that wick. Still a similar thought process though. Do we get that action like that? Um, so I'm intrigued from that perspective there. Uh, daily don't have much. We just wick that 382 here, trying to push back up. That level 174 has held. Stochastic pushing back into the sell zone here, right? So trying to make its way back to the high side. So watching that and this reaction here at this 177 level, do we range here for a while, and head back to the downside? So a couple things developing there on the daily. We get down to the 4. We just missed this 618 retracement here with this wick, right? But again, not able to close above that 177,406. Got a Kumo twist on the cloud, but we're not able to break it. Stochastic in the sell zone here, right? So do we get high price and then prices start making its way back down to the downside here, right? So looking to see if we get that continued motion here. I got a small position in to the downside here because that's my overall bias also is bearish on this one. Um, do we see this action happen over the long term? Do we see that move continue to the downside here? So watching that there, I just got a small position in that to the downside. Then coming down to the 1, we had 80-20 here, 50% retracement, right? Do we see this make its way down to the D extension and then potentially further? Okay, so that's my thoughts. Back and forth on the charts, but my sentiment on this overall is to the downside. And we'll see if we get a longer term move on that monthly time frame to the downside as well. So that's the pound CAD. Questions?
nope.
I'll wrap it up with some yens. Pound yen first, since we're here. This level is holding, right? That level is holding. We're unable to really stay below it here. Pushed up, came back to it again. That level is holding. Do we get swing low to form today? Stochastic in the buy zone, right? So do we start making this move to the upside ahead of Thursday? And then is Thursday a catalyst for this to really explode to the upside, getting us back to that 208 level, right? Which from there, 1,700 pips to the upside. All right. So do we get the catalyst? We got a 618 retracement hovering in the zone, stochastic in the buy zone, some things lining up there. Do we get the fundamental side on Thursday to give us that catalyst and that push to explode back to the upside? Get into the matching D extension 209, 734. And this previous high here, right? That's ultimately what I'm looking for on this pound yen. Bias is still long on the yen, even if they do increase the rate. I think a lot of that is priced in, and still looking for price to continue moving to the upside. Coming down to the 4, similar story, right? 50% retracement here, level holding. Stochastic coming out of that sell zone right now. We'll see if it creeps down into the buy zone here and stays above 189,447. This is a key level that I'm watching here. If this level gets broken, then that upside bet for me is off. But if this level stays intact, then I think we continue rising there. Okay. So that is on the 4. Coming down to the 1. Take some of this out. That's what your chart looks like on the 1. Back and forth, right? We got a 618 retracement, but not able to break out, right? Pushed up, broke the cloud again. Cloud bullish ahead. Are we able to stay above and continue moving north? Okay, so back and forth on the back and forth on the 1 hour chart. Bias is still long here. Questions on the pound yen? Nope.
Nope.
All right. Euro yen. Similar story, right? Trying to create this swing low here. Stochastic lower in the zone is pushing out of that buy zone already, but lower in the zone, are we able to create this swing low with the close of today's candle and then start that move back to the upside there? Okay. Already got higher low, higher low. Does this give us another higher low, right? And that move to the upside off of that 8-6 retracement here on the daily, right? 8-6 retracement, massive extension, 178. We'll see if we get there, but at least back to the high at 175, right? Giving more of a double top type scenario. But are we able to make this move there? Okay. Coming down to the 4, 8-6 retracement, matching extension here, 164. I've already started moving up, right? Nice pullback. Haven't been able to break the cloud yet on the 4. Stochastic pressing back down. So do we consolidate here a little bit before we get a move back to the upside heading into Thursday? Okay. So that's on the 4. Down on your 1, right? This is the zone that I had been watching for price to come into, and it did, took out that level, but came into that zone. And fresh AB boundary, reversal. All right, so ultimately looking for this to continue to the upside, also taking out that A boundary and continuing to move long. Boom, like so. Okay, so already pushed back into the 618 level. Do we get a deeper push, right? Maybe coming back and testing this range here. And then setting us up for that move long. Right? So looking long overall on these yens, right? If the Bank of Japan is dovish in their press conference or in their statement overall, right? If they're dovish, we see this continue to rise, even with a rate increase. Even with a rate increase, if they're dovish in their comments, we see this rally, right? It was like Benny said, all their jawboning and talking was to talk the market down. They increased the rate. They're able to still keep their overall cautious stance, and price moves back to the upside against it, right? And then we'll see what happens from there. We'll see. Questions on anything that we covered this morning?
No questions.
No? Benny, anything before we wrap it up, bro?
No, man, good session. Good way to start out, a shortened week. I'll be blasting through the data this morning, getting some things posted. Because I'm real big on the fundamentals at this point to kind of get caught up soon as the market opens, start reading all of the data and the reports, to try to get a feel, for the market and how your major investors are thinking, and then I'll get that info passed on to the group inside the community. Appreciate you, man. Have a great day, everybody.
No doubt, bro. Appreciate you as well. All right, good people. Have a phenomenal day. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Spring New York session. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.